The desert did not forgive mistakes. It swallowed them. Eliza Harper learned that lesson. And when the ground beneath her horse began to breathe, soft at first, then hungry, she leapt free just in time, watching the animal sink into the slow, choking pull of quicksand. And then she saw him, a man half-buried, arms trembling, dark eyes burning with defiance even as death dragged him down. His skin was bronzed by sun and war, his long black hair plastered to his face with sweat and sand. A Comanche, not just any warrior. His headdress, though torn, marked him as someone important. Eliza froze. Everyone on the frontier knew the stories. The Comanche chief called Iron Hawk, a man whose name was whispered like a curse by settlers. A man blamed for raids, blood, fire, and now he was dying. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she grabbed a fallen branch, dropped to her knees, and thrust it toward him. "Take it!" she shouted. Their eyes locked. Suspicion warred with survival. Slowly, he wrapped his arm around the branch. Eliza braced herself, muscles screaming as she pulled with everything she had. Inch by inch, she dragged him free until both collapsed on solid ground, gasping. Iron Hawk could have killed her then. He didn't. He rose unsteadily, towering over her, his expression unreadable. Then he pressed a hand to his chest, a silent acknowledgement, and disappeared into the desert without a word. Eliza thought that was the end of it. She was wrong. 3 weeks later, the sound of hooves thundered across the plains like an approaching storm. Comanche riders surrounded her homestead at dawn, silent, disciplined, deadly. At their center rode Iron Hawk, fully healed, proud, and unmistakably their chief. Fear rooted Eliza to the ground as he dismounted. "She saved my life," he said in his language. "Now the tribe will decide hers." She was taken, not bound, not beaten, but escorted to the heart of the Comanche camp. The elders gathered. Warriors watched. Women whispered. To them, she was not a hero. She was an outsider who had interfered with fate. One elder spoke. "Why did you save him?" Eliza swallowed. "Because no one deserves to die like that." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Another elder stepped forward. "Your people have killed ours." Her voice trembled but did not break. "So have yours." But that moment wasn't about tribes. It was about a life. Silence fell. Iron Hawk stood then, his presence commanding. "Our law says a life debt must be repaid, but it also says an enemy who saves a chief may change her fate." The judgment was cruel in its balance. Eliza would not be killed, but she would not leave untouched. She was ordered to remain with the tribe through the winter, to learn their ways, to see their losses, to understand the weight of blood on both sides. If she endured with honor, she would be free in the spring. If she failed, the debt would be repaid in death. Winter was merciless. She learned hunger, grief, and resilience. She tended the sick. She listened to stories of stolen children, broken treaties, and lands taken inch by inch. Slowly, the eyes that once watched her with hatred softened into something closer to respect. When spring came, the elders gathered again. Iron Hawk spoke last. "She saved me without knowing who I was. She faced judgment without begging. She stayed." He turned to Eliza. "Your fate is yours now. Go and tell your people what you have seen." Eliza left the camp forever changed. Behind her, Iron Hawk watched the horizon, knowing that mercy, like judgment, was a weapon far more powerful than war. And the desert, for once, had spared them both. Spring did not follow Eliza Harper home. Though her feet crossed back into settler land, the Comanche camp never left her. The wind still carried their songs in her dreams. The firelight still flickered behind her eyes. And Iron Hawk, silent, unyielding, Iron Hawk stood like a shadow between who she had been and who she had become. The settlement welcomed her cautiously. Some called her brave, others called her foolish. A few whispered the word traitor. Eliza ignored them all. She rebuilt her homestead slowly, deliberately, stronger than before. She planted crops the Comanche women had taught her to grow. She kept a small medicine pouch at her bedside, a gift pressed into her palm the night she left. Months passed. Then came the riders. This time there was no fear in her chest, only certainty. Iron Hawk arrived with fewer warriors than before. No weapons raised, no threats spoken. He dismounted alone and waited while Eliza stepped forward. "You came," she said. "I said your fate was yours," he replied. "But the world does not like unfinished stories." The tribe faced a decision. War was coming, white soldiers advancing, borders tightening like a noose. Some wanted blood. Others remembered the woman who had stood alone before judgment and did not kneel. Iron Hawk had called the council because he believed something dangerous, that survival might require mercy. Eliza spoke not as a settler, not as a guest, but as a witness. She told them the truth about the forts being built, the soldiers who would not stop, the war that would not care who was right. She did not beg. She did not bargain. She simply told the truth. The elders debated until nightfall. At last, judgment was passed. The Comanche would move west, avoid the coming slaughter. And Eliza Harper would be remembered, not as an enemy, not as one of them, but as the woman who changed the path of a tribe by choosing life over fear. Before he left, Iron Hawk placed his hand over his heart again. "Some debts," he said, "are not repaid with blood." Eliza watched them disappear into the horizon, knowing she would never see him again. But the desert remembered. Years later, when the frontier stories were told, they spoke of raids and wars and names carved into stone. Yet sometimes, quietly, another story surfaced. A story about quicksand, about judgment, about a woman who saved a man, and a man who saved her fate in return. The end.